Here's a question that the world never wants Africa to ask. What if Africa actually developed the resources it already owns? Because right now, across the continent, 8 African nations are sitting on natural wealth so massive, so untouched, and so unexplored that if these resources were properly developed, the global balance of power would tilt overnight. These countries are Namibia, Somalia, Malawi, Mali, Sudan, Guinea-Bissau, Eswatini, and Eritrea. By no means are these poor countries. These are rich countries with deliberately undervalued sectors the world prays Africa never unlocks. And remember, if you want more Africa First stories the Western media often ignores, hit subscribe because we don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. Because today, we expose 8 African countries whose untapped wealth could rewrite the next 100 years. And before we get into the details, we're going to give you an example of just how deliberately grossly undervalued exported resources to foreign countries have been to increase profit margins.
African governments are seeking new ways to gain a greater share of the continent's vast mineral wealth. Bloomberg's Samuel Etienne reports.
Africa's mineral wealth offers a $1.6 trillion opportunity.
1.6 trillion? I mean, stop it, guys. You've seen that just in DRC alone, there's $24 trillion worth of resources there. So let's continue.
Governments want to cash in. With near record copper prices, companies are restarting dormant mines. The host countries are demanding more of the proceeds. For the first time, the Democratic Republic of Congo has started directly selling its share of copper from joint ventures and is doing the same with cobalt. This means more revenue for Congo than going through the JVs. Meanwhile, neighboring Zambia is setting up a state-owned metals trading company, competing directly with the likes of Glencore and Trafigura, as well as increasing its stakes in mines operating in the country. Such moves reflect a wider shift across the continent as governments seek greater economic benefits from their natural resource wealth.
Gone should be the days when Africa is just seen as a source of rock, soil, dust being exported out of our continent.
Ghana aims to refine its lithium within its borders, earning more, while Botswana wants a bigger stake in diamond miner De Beers. Demand for critical minerals is set to soar in coming years. Bloomberg Intelligence sees global copper consumption increasing by 2 million tons by 2030 amid the green and AI booms.
All right, guys. Picture this, a continent the size of the US, China, India, and most of Europe combined, right? Sitting on resources the world depends on: oil, bauxite, gold, uranium, natural gases, hydropower, arable land. And yet these nations rank as, low income. Why? Because the world built an economic system where Africa's wealth is discussed only after someone else extracts it, right? But that era is ending. These 8 nations are no longer waiting to be discovered. They're preparing to unlock what's been sitting beneath their feet. So let's break it down. The media tells you these countries are poor, unstable, and dependent, conflict prone, or high risks for investment. The truth is, each of these countries is sitting on strategic natural resources, the same resources powering global technology, energy, construction, pharmaceuticals, and defense. Some examples the world stays quiet about are Somalia, hydrocarbon deposits, uranium, offshore oil and gas; Namibia, oil, coal, iron ore, and critical minerals, right? Malawi, bauxite, uranium, tin, manganese, uranium, Sudan, corium, copper, gold, mica, tungsten, zinc; Guinea-Bissau, unexploited petroleum, phosphates, limestone; Eswatini, gold, diamonds, talc; Eritrea, major gold deposits, possible offshore natural gases. So these are not small deposits, right? These are game-changing reserves that they want to figure out a way to control, which they've historically had trouble doing. So here's the deeper truth. Africa's poverty is unnatural, right? It's engineered. It's engineered by intentional underdevelopment of the very resources the world depends on. So this is your screenshot quote here. Africa isn't resource poor. Africa is resource underdeveloped by design. So let's talk about receipts, right? Because the numbers tell a story that geopolitics try to hide, right? Across these 8 countries, conservative geological surveys estimate hundreds of billions of dollars in proven and probable reserves, right? So here's the key. Most of it has never been extracted, smelted, refined, or monetized locally. And so that's why, so little data exists. Many of these resources are untouched or only partially explored, and the full geological value is uncounted, undocumented, controlled by foreign exploitation firms or hidden beneath private agreements. And because mining oil companies are private, Africa rarely sees the accurate data reserves, the accurate production estimates, or accurate revenue flows, right? We talked about that intentional development within the system. So what we can verify here is we know these reserves exist because preliminary geological surveys confirm them. Foreign companies filed exploration claims, and the same minerals have been discovered in neighboring formations. So satellite imaging has confirmed them. In other words, the world knows the values there. They just hope that Africa never finds a way to extract them themselves. So even if 25% of these resources were developed locally, Africa could erase billions in debt, build continental infrastructure, power manufacturing hubs, and boost food security through hydropower-driven irrigation, creating millions of jobs. The global economy is built on African minerals, but Africa hasn't built Africa with those same minerals, unfortunately, right? So there's a huge political aspect here. Unlocking these reserves shifts bargaining power, regional influence, currency stability, energy dependence, and diplomatic leverage. So imagine, Somalia exporting oil and gas. Imagine Malawi becoming a uranium supplier, Eritrea joining Africa's gold giants, and Namibia as an oil hub, right? So the world is not ready for that, but Africa is. So when nations rise economically, identity rises with them. These countries are not forgotten. They're sleeping giants. And when they wake, the entire narrative of Africa weakens, right, and collapses. So when Africa controls its resources, diaspora investment becomes strategic and not charitable. Africans abroad won't be sending remittances to survive. They'll be buying shares, opening companies, and returning to build industries on a larger scale than we already are. So here's the future if Africa chooses sovereignty continually over extraction. Local smelters and refineries, Africa-owned mining companies, resource-backed currencies, industrial zones in Somalia, Eritrea, and Namibia. And we'll see varying massive headlines such as Namibia becomes Africa's new iron and oil powerhouse. Mali opens Africa's largest bauxite corridor, right? And if you thought this list is shocking, wait until we look at the 14 African countries controlling the minerals for energy transition, right? So here's the truth. Africa's not waiting to be discovered. Africa's waking up to what we already have. These 8 nations are not poor. They're pre-developed, and the world is terrified of what happens when Africa develops Africa. So, mashallah, that's your Africa Insight for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I'm Mr. EmpowerTV. We don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.